I think neighbors want to know what's going on with their schools, even though they don't have children there. And you'll find that people in the neighborhood will come and support.
We are surrounded by content. Content shapes who we follow, how we lead, what we buy, and even what we believe. Welcome to the Content Generation Podcast, a Class Intercom production where we focus on the stories that come to life in schools all over the world. We highlight the students, educators, and communities who share the content that shapes our future. Welcome back to the Content Generation Podcast. I'm Ben. I'm here with Jill. Jill, it's fun to be back.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm glad to be here.
Here we are. It's fall 2025, and we've been having a lot of fun with students. I got to spend a good amount of time with some students yesterday at a school, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm always happy when our schools open up and let us come in to get some footage of kids in the wild, and in their natural habitat of school. Also really fun. We just finished up our 5th annual Content Generation Workshop, and so had 150 kids in person and several more hundred online, which was just a blast of a day.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I get so much energy getting to be with students. Of course, then I learn a few things, 6, 7, whatever the thing is, right?
That's outdated now, Ben.
Like I mean, there's just all sorts of things that I'm learning. But one of the things that we're learning a lot about is there's different places to share content. There's different channels, and there's different sort of cultures around each place. Mm-hmm. And so we shared some of this with students at the Content Generation Workshop, but also we're learning a lot with school communicators, and the different places that they're sharing content all have different reasons for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I love about our platform is you can go to multiple socials at once. We're up to 7 now, which is really cool. But then being able to really dive into some of those strategies for the different ones. We see a lot of people on Facebook. That's the king. Instagram, X has kind of started to decline, but we're seeing a huge growth in LinkedIn, Nextdoor, even TikTok. So it's been really fun to see our schools explore the possibilities there for different purposes.
Yeah, and I've really appreciated this, getting to know Robbie from Nextdoor a little bit more. She's really honest about why and how, and she's been with Nextdoor since before it was Nextdoor, which is really cool. She's got a whole bunch of background as to why people have really adopted Nextdoor and also what to use it for. And that's what I'm really excited to share with school communicators about, is the real reasons of why to use it and what it can do to benefit your school district, and the people in your community.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique platform, and some real potential there for helping interact with your clients. Clients, your stakeholders, all the people that are paying your taxes, they're all your clients in the school district. So good to know what they're talking about and have your finger on the pulse of those conversations.
Well, you've got it. I'm excited for you all to get to meet Robbie from Nextdoor. Really fun to have you on, Robbie from Nextdoor.
Thank you.
It's been fun for me to get to know a little bit of your background. How did you get into tech?
I went to college in Georgia, at Georgia State, and I got my MBA and I got a master's in decision sciences. So Frito-Lay recruited me right out of college. At the time, they had 400 programmers that were all of their individual systems. And I was hired to come in and kind of look over all the systems and say, how can we give them the data they need to do their job without all these programmers having to program it? From that, I kind of fell into Sun Microsystems. They were looking for their first business person in the field. I got to do lots of different things, finance and marketing, and just kind of a jack of all trades. When I left there, I ended up just wanting a total change. And I worked for a Clean Tech Open, which was a business plan competition run by VCs. And I worked with entrepreneurs trying to start clean tech businesses and help them develop their business plans. And one of the ones that I worked with happened to be a husband-wife team who had come up with this great idea to have an app that allowed the neighbors in their neighborhood to talk with each other, get to know each other, with the ultimate goal of why couldn't they, why do we have to all drive down to up to San Francisco? Why can't we carpool? Why can't we have a shed with tools in them? So they were looking at kind of a sharing economy, but they realized you can't do that unless you actually get to know your neighbors and you trust your neighbors. And
Right.
they also wanted it to be a more resilient neighborhood, meaning if something happens in my house, then the neighbors are the first to respond. They will come and help me. And so we started that. When they got through the competition, they made it through all the gates of the competition, and it was like, go out and execute. And they were like, no, we can't do this without you, because they weren't business people.
Mm.
It was great people, great, great vision. I knew they could execute it, but it was a lot of the how do we make money type things that they couldn't answer.
Mm.
So I went and worked with them, and we basically did what Nextdoor does for 3 years. But we started with government. So we always knew that government was important to neighborhoods. And so we went to the cities and asked them for their maps, and we asked them to do, we asked them if they would bring together all of their neighborhood leaders, the people that were in the library as leader, as volunteers. So just get everybody together and let's introduce this concept to them and see what they think. And everyone loved it. And then the city ran with it and marketed it to their neighbors through different venues. And we were off
Yeah.
and running. So we were in 9 cities in the San Francisco Bay Area when the founders of Nextdoor were looking for a new business to do. And one of them moved and couldn't figure out how to connect with their neighborhood. So they decided this would be a great opportunity to go do something. One of the co-founders mocked something up and asked his friend to look at what he was mocked up, and he goes, I've been using that for 3 years. Yes. The CEO contacted us and said, hey, we'd like to talk. And we were looking for VC funding, weren't getting it. And so it was like, sure, we can talk. So 2 of us went into Nextdoor. They purchased our company. We moved to Nextdoor, and we created the government program for them. So from the very beginning of Nextdoor 14 years ago, we have had neighbors and public agencies on Nextdoor talking to each other.
That's cool. So what became Nextdoor? Essentially, you were starting on the ground floor. Give me a little bit of what it takes to make that happen. So on the ground floor means you had to reach out to the first government agencies and reach out to literally neighbors. How did you get neighbors on to the platform that became Nextdoor? Like, what did it take to get the first people to say, yes, I'll sign up and I'll validate my address with you?
Yes. So we actually used a 2-prong attack. One, and we did both at the same time. So I will use the Dallas-Fort Worth area as an example. Because I had lived in Dallas, and so I had moved to California, but I knew Dallas really well, had lots of friends in Dallas. So it was kind of contacting all the friends and saying, try this out. But we also had, we reached out to neighbors or people in the community that were active in the communities. And so we had a whole team of people that were working on that. We also got community organizers that lived in the city and gathered them up, and we actually helped. We paid them to go knock on doors. And then once you get that first person in a neighborhood, then we empowered them. We gave them postcards that they could send, and we would send it for them to their neighbors. We gave them little flyers that they could hand out. There was a lot of walking around neighborhoods in that time period, just beating on doors and asking them that. At the same time we were doing that, we were also talking, like I went in and talked to the mayor's office in Dallas, and I talked to the city manager's office in Dallas, and I talked to the police department. And luckily at that time, police were really looking for a way to get out of the traditional, um, you know, neighborhood watch crime prevention programs that they had. They were very time consuming. Oftentimes you had one person that wanted to control the information for the neighbors, and they didn't necessarily want to give it all out to them. And so Dallas was in the process of looking for one. So I walked in the door and it was like, what you're talking about is a virtual neighborhood watch tool. And I said, oh, yeah, you could call it that, because our idea is get neighbors to meet each other and then help each other and take, then they would be the first responders if there is an emergency. And I said, and if that's a crime, yeah, that would be Crime Watch. And so they were very thrilled. So they were one of our first large police departments that got on. And they helped. Then they had volunteers in all aspects of policing that I came in and talked to all of the volunteers, got them on board. And so at that point, we did a press conference with them. Our CEO came out. He's also from Texas. And so he came out and did a press conference with the chief. And at that point, then all of a sudden, Parks and Recreation wanted to use it, and the city manager's office wanted to use it, and planning wanted to use it. So it kind of helped in both the neighborhood growth as well as getting more of the departments wanting to use it.
Super interesting. So when you think about, obviously we're working with school communicators all the time, and there's super, adjacent, you could almost say next door to a lot of what you're working on with, the police and local government. But I think, school districts, as we've talked about, have been a later addition, maybe for Nextdoor, but a really interesting opportunity for connecting them. As you're working with, and in fact, you and I originally met at NSPRA, which is kind of fun. So you were working with a lot more school districts than you used to. When you look at school districts, what types of things are you seeing that they can benefit from being on Nextdoor?
Yeah, and I learned this from one of our early adopters. So I've been trying for more than maybe 8 years to get people to get kind of the attention of the company to say, we really want education on. We really want our school districts, our school systems on. We can't do it one by one school at a time, but we can do it at a school district level. And so I learned from one of our early adopters that while we were testing, and she's still on, she's the one that turned me on to NSPRA, and we did an NSPRA webinar earlier in the year. And then NSPRA called me and said, hey, I think you'd be a great fit for us. Come exhibit at NSPRA. And that was the best thing that ever happened, because the booth was swamped. I learned a lot. I talked to a lot of, like what kinds of things would you want out of Nextdoor? And it turns out we have a lot of what they need, and a lot of what what I think they should need. And I learned this from this partner, was that the communicators in the school districts are excellent at talking to the parents and to the people that are, affiliated with the school. But it's the general community that are the taxpayers. And so if you, and they can be volunteers, they can be all kinds of things, they can do all kinds of, you need new band instruments. Somebody may just put some money in that's not affiliated with the school at all. And so she actually, in this mini lab webinar that we did, these people are impacted by the events that you have. They're impacted by decisions that you make, like facility renovations. Okay, we're going to have to renovate that school. So therefore there's going to be traffic. There's going to be lots of noise in the neighborhood. But they also, they also had children. Like on Nextdoor, 65% of the people are parents. And so they aren't necessarily parents that have small children now, but they have
Yeah.
parents and they understand the importance of our public schools. And so they are willing to come and help. And so if you said, hey, we've got this event and we need people to help give out drinks or to help do things, you're going to find that you have a lot of people that will come in and help that are not affiliated with the school, but will come and work events. They already worked it when they were parents. The other thing is like when you have career days, a lot of times parents are like barely able to make it. They can, they're working full-time jobs. Some of them are working two times, two jobs. But there's a lot of people in the neighborhood that might be willing to come in and talk about a very interesting career that they had or have. And you might find, oh, there's a police officer that lives in the neighborhoods around my neighborhood that's willing to come in and to talk about police. I don't even have to call the police department and say, hey, would somebody from the police department come in and talk about it? So there's lots of different interesting things. And I would say, think out of the box for two of the communicators. It's like, it's like, this is a different audience. They aren't
exactly.
It's like it's an incremental audience for you, especially since it's the school. So you're getting all the people that are not affiliated with the school that are in the neighborhoods. But then if you're on Facebook, I might follow you there or I might not. And on Nextdoor, it's a built-in audience because they're automatically subscribed to every page, public agency page. So they're kind of a built-in audience already.
So when I think about it, a lot of times I equate the platforms themselves to kind of like to a culture, right? Mm-hmm. Like it has its own culture. It's sort of like there's something that I would post on Facebook that I wouldn't post on LinkedIn, right? Yeah. And but there's also some overlap in those, right? Like sometimes I'll make a post and I might contextualize it a little bit differently for those different platforms. How would you describe like Nextdoor as that platform? Like what should I be thinking about? How would I post things differently on Nextdoor than I might if I was just used to a Facebook audience?
So I'll give a great example is like you may have a bond coming up. And it's to help get money for renovating some of the schools or the playgrounds or whatever. On Nextdoor, we don't allow you to tell anybody how to vote, but you can sure educate them on what's our master plan. Hey, here's our master plan, putting in images of the rundown playground or the rundown school or the bathroom that needs to be fixed with the water running out, on the floor that the kids are having to walk across the water to get to the toilets. Actually making your case without saying, go vote for this bond, but telling them this is what's going on with the state of our schools today. And you need to know that before the bond election. And it's okay to say, hey, we've got a bond election coming up on so-and-so, and we wanted you to be educated. Here's the state of our schools, or here's the plan. Go read it yourself, And so I think that's very different than what you would do on Facebook.
Right. Absolutely it is.
And these are that are the taxpayers that are voting. So you're getting that audience.
Yeah. So we get a lot of questions at times that are, how often should I be posting? Like how often should I be posting on Nextdoor? What would that look like if I was putting together a plan and I said, from week to week, month to month, like what should I be thinking about as a plan for Nextdoor?
I think we tell people it's okay to post every day if you have content that you need to post or want to post. I think about, gosh, there's so much that neighbors need to celebrate about our public schools. From the kid that won the spelling bee, for the whole school, or, the chess team in the high school went to the nationals and won, or they didn't win, but they went to the nationals, the football team, Hey, they won last night, or, it's so I think neighbors want to know what's going on with their schools, even though they don't have children there.
Yeah.
At least I do. And, it's like, I think more neighbors want to know. They'd like to be able to help. I know in my neighborhood, I have a high school student that's on, and she's always putting messages on about, hey, we've got this food drive at the high school. And, they're telling the parents, but they haven't told anybody else. So if you'd like to
Right.
bring food, you can drop it at my doorstep and I'll take it in for you, or you can drop it by the school at this location. And so it's like food drives or any kind of thing you're doing, or backpack drives for in the summer for the kids we see that sometimes, and it's always the students asking.
Yeah.
But yet, and yeah, that kind of pulls at the heartstrings. I remember having to sell cookies for the band, and to get band
Right.
instruments. And so I'm kind of pulls at the heartstrings when it's one of the students. But I think if I got that from the school itself, from the school district saying, here's the things that we're working on. And I would be thinking, oh, how can I help them?
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
help them with some of these things. And they may be looking for service providers that might do it for free. Yes.
Right.
They could have their calendar of what are all the events we're doing. So they could definitely be posting events. And like I always go to the school concerts because I was in the band. And I love those. The school plays. When are those happening? And how do people get tickets to those? And you'll find that people in the neighborhood will come and support.
Right. Right. Now, one of the things I had to really get my mind around, I've been on Nextdoor for a lot of years, but when I moved over to the other side and we did a partnership with Nextdoor to be able to publish and archive it and really work with your platform, one of the things I had to help work with our product team is to get my mind around, hey, this is local. I'm publishing this to a local audience.
Yes.
I'd love for your perspective on how you talk about that, because, if I work with a school district in the Bay Area, that's not showing up for me as I live in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right.
Now, that's the powerful part of the platform, but it's also just to understand it. You can't just go on and say, hey, I want to go watch a whole bunch of other school districts' content around the U.S., because you're just not going to see it necessarily.
Yeah. However, you can Google an individual school district and put Nextdoor at the end of it, and you would be able to see their content. And so we have SEO pages because everybody is open record. I mean, these are all open records. And we found very early on, and we've been doing this for 13 years, found early on that some bloggers thought that Nextdoor was going to put them out of business. That wasn't our intent at all. And so they started doing open records requests at the city level for all content on Nextdoor. And we were like, this is crazy. If they just could see all the content instead of just in their own neighborhood, if they could see all the content that they were posting. And so we created SEO pages for every public agency. So you can go just type in the name of the agency in the Nextdoor, and you can find anybody across the country that's a public agency, whether it's a school district, a water utility district, any of their public agencies, you can do that. And what I would also say is that as a neighbor, I can see the content of all my public agencies by just searching in my neighborhood app. I can type in public agencies. It'll give me a list of everyone. And it's kind of a news feed of just the public agencies. So I would see my school district. I would see my city. I might see my county. I might see the police department. So I would see all the posts from them kind of in chronological order. Or I could hit the other tab and I could see everybody I'm subscribed to. All the 8 pages I'm subscribed to. And I can say, I really just want to see what the school district's posting. And I can click on that and I can see it.
That's great. That's great. Now, as a publisher, when I'm creating content, I have to also be aware that it's reaching a geographic focus, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm a school district, I'm publishing to an area,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
How should I be thinking about that as a publisher, knowing that I'm reaching, I'm making content for my school district? It might bleed over a little bit into the neighboring school district, but maybe not entirely.
Yeah. So the way that our platform works, the page is geographic bound by the district. And then if you have, like for the school districts, you probably have school areas. So the name of the school is usually the name of the area. So we allow you to give us the custom area for each one of those schools, which then allows you at the district level to post to an individual area, custom area, so school area, or down to the neighborhood level. So maybe it's only for one or two neighborhoods that it's going to affect. You also then can give to each individual school, people at those schools, the ability just to post within their school area. So you can have multiple communicators on Nextdoor at the school itself, as well as at the district level itself. And then from that perspective, you want to be able to communicate to the right people, which is why we allow this whole geo targeting of you got your whole district. There's certain messages that apply to everybody. There's certain that only apply to that high school district, and a different one to this primary district. Yeah, so it's kind of
Yeah.
the two. So it allows you to really communicate to the people that need to hear it.
That's great. Now, what we're seeing from a number of schools is they're starting at the district level and they're saying, okay, let's start publishing. Let's start publishing on Nextdoor because this is an audience we weren't reaching in the way we needed to. Maybe it's because of a bond issue. Maybe it's because there's some concerns in the district, whatever it might be. But that starts to inspire them and then they can start to get their feet wet a little bit in some of that.
Yeah, and we can
Cool.
always add, they can always start with their whole district and then they realize,
Right.
oh, it's going to be easier to target. So the whole thing is we try to make it easy where they can actually go target down to where they need to be targeting. And so, which is why we allow them to give us the custom service areas.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and happy to help with any school districts that are doing that. Seeing what you're doing with Nextdoor, I also want to call out there's some specialized features that you brought up to me as well. I can post, I can respond, and there's also some emergency alerts that could be effective depending on what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about those.
So, an alert is something that's affecting property, life or property, and it's something they need to know, and they need to know immediately. And so, as all social media, we have algorithms for posts. And we have some best practices on how to make sure the most people see your post.
Yeah.
But for an alert, it bypasses that algorithm altogether, and it gets pinned to the top of the news feed. So it goes out immediately, gets pinned to the top of the news feed. So when somebody comes into their neighborhood page, it's pinned at the top. When I see that and read it, then it can start dropping in my news feed, but it doesn't affect yours. And if we're in the same neighborhood, it doesn't affect yours. So you can post those out to an individual neighborhood, a group of neighborhoods, or to custom service area, or to the whole area. I see this with some of our schools when power's out and they had to, it's like they walk in the morning and the power's out and they've got to immediately let people know that the school has been closed. Weather events, unfortunately, potential school shooters, they're doing lockdown. And it is okay. You post it as an alert. It goes out immediately in the news feed, but it also goes as a push notification on the app. 85% of the neighbors use the app. And it goes as an email to everybody that allows us to send them emails. So it goes three different ways so that this is something that's super important. They've got to know it. They got to know it right now. And so every public agency has that ability. Neighbors do not have that ability. Public agencies are the only one that can do that. And then we have a couple other features too, polling. So you can poll and ask the neighbors what they'd like to hear, or, ask a question and get some responses from them. And then we also have events. Right now, all the events coming through your system are regular post. And we're working on updating the API so it can be classified as an event, which then just gives it a little bit more visibility to the neighbors.
That's great. That's great. So when we're thinking about Nextdoor, is there anything that you would have as advice for school communicators that they should really be thinking about when it pertains to Nextdoor?
I think for Nextdoor, it's just remembering that this is my local community. These are people that pay the taxes. These are people that are parents or have been, they have grown children maybe, but they've got grandchildren. So it's this totally different audience than what you have been used to communicating with, but it's a really important audience. And so be thinking out of the box, like how could we, what is it that we need to be telling them besides just bond and giving us money? And how could we utilize this resource that we've not been utilizing? These are people that care deeply about their community, and the school is part of their community. And so think kind of like, how could we creatively use this, in engaging our entire community and not just the people that are affiliated with the school?
Yeah. Great advice. Anything new coming down the road? I know you revamped the platform. Great new UI back in June-ish timeframe. Looks fresh and clean.
Mm-hmm.
Anything new coming down the pike for Nextdoor?
For public agencies, we've just added a couple of things as well. One of the things we kept hearing was, I want to know if I am the police department and I have a page, I want to be able to see what the city is posting, or I want to see what the county sheriff is posting. So we've just added in a new ability for public agencies to see other public agencies and respond to them. As part of our refresh in July, August, I guess it was August. Yeah. For the neighbor side, we included news publishers. And so a lot of times they may be having articles on the city or the schools or something like that. So we actually have a section that you can click a button and say, I want to see the news that is coming about this area. And so then you could go in and you could set the record straight if they've got the record wrong on something that they're talking about with the schools. So that's another thing that's kind of a little different about our platform. Then we have alerting partners, so weather alerts, traffic alerts, things like that. And you'd be able to see those as well without having to go log into your neighborhood. You could see it a little bit broader based upon your area.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, Robbie, it has been fun to catch up a little bit, and thanks for the advice to the content generation here. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.